Hello and welcome to episode 324 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I'm one of the co-founders here at ETR, and we're coming off of a devastatingly disappointing week. Yes, that's right. This was the stone cold worst final week of the regular season I can remember. Outside of Patrick Taylor and maybe Keyshawn Vaughn, there weren't really any hashtag team preseason spots. Basically no team XFL spots. The cap was incredibly tight, especially for a week 18. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this was a top 6 worst thing to ever happen to me in my life. I mean, ridiculous. But regardless of all that, no excuses, play like a champion. I just flat out played bad in DraftKings cash. I mean, given the strength of running back in the mid-range and how weak wide receiver was in the mid-range, should have been easy call to go Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and fade Jonathan Taylor. And obviously that's easy to say in hindsight, fading Jonathan Taylor against the Jaguars as a 14-point favorite in a game they needed it, it was really hard to do. And then JT goes out and hits his stone cold floor, 12 and a half points. So obviously in hindsight, but still, the results for Devin Singletary, even Vaughn, James Conner, just more solid, I think, than what I ended up in the mid-range, which was Christian Kirk. I'm trying not to be too hindsight oriented, but, anyway, nevertheless, with the regular season over, I thought it would be a good time to go through some results. I like to do this each year. Figured I'd share a little bit of it with you guys, and I'll start with results in cash. And by the way, I generally measure my results through ROI, not win rate, not how many weeks I cashed in double ups or whatever. I look at my results through the lens of ROI because my goal isn't to score the most points or get the most cashes. It's to win the most money, period. So my ROI in cash this year was 18.8%, which I'm actually really happy with. The best year I've ever had is 22.1%. The worst I've ever had is 5%. And that data goes back to 2015 when I started playing seriously. So yeah, I mean, 18.8% is good. It's really good. It backs up that I think it's still worth me playing cash, that there's still good action to be had. I think I played pretty well in all, but maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Certainly this last week 18 was one of them I didn't play well. I will say that my win rate in head-to-head this season was down to 57%, which is actually on the real low end. Back in 2018, I was at a 64% win rate in head-to-head. I typically want to be at 60 plus. So that's a concern and something to watch for sure. But, again, my priority is winning the highest stakes head-to-heads. That's really where the ROI is generated. But, zooming out for maybe more people, that are listening to this, I know I said earlier this season, but I'll say it again. If I wasn't getting really good head-to-head action, I'm not sure I would keep playing cash. Just to be honest, if I wasn't selling any head-to-heads, if most of my action came from double ups and 50-50s, I don't really think that's a very fun or efficient use of my capital right now. So again, if you came to me and said, Adam, I just want to concentrate on tournaments, the cash action is too stressful and, it's not soft, I would not think any less of you. In 2015, 2016, 2017, maybe 2018, I would have called you fucking insane and I 100% would have thought less of you, but not now. As for tournament results this year, obviously this was the best year of my life in DFS tournaments and it wasn't particularly close. It's just such a hard thing to evaluate. Okay, I ran like the Lord Jesus himself and hit for 250K on FanDuel in week 16. My ROI for tournaments this year was 338%. Does that mean that I'm really, really good at tournaments right now because I had the one score? It's hard to say, right? And it's hard for data to capture it. And when you're mostly hand building, like I am, I don't have a huge sample. I'm making 5, 6, 7, 8 tournament teams a week. There's only 18 weeks. The data sets are really small. I will say that last season, the 2020 season, I had a 48% ROI in NFL tournaments, mostly stemming from that week 17 win I had in the juke on DraftKings. So that's good. the other good thing in the data on tournaments was my ITM rate, my in the money rate has gone down. And I know this is a bit counterintuitive, but my ITM rate was typically between 30 and 40% from 2015 to 2019. But in 2020, I was in the money far less in tournaments, only 24%. And again, in 2021, in the money exactly 24%. So in other words, I'm cashing less often, but I'm winning way more. And in other words, maybe, hopefully, I think that I'm making teams that are more likely to win, but less likely to cash, more contrarian, more correlated. Just stuff that I've really been trying to focus on. So obviously that's good to see. And I've just concentrated on it more. I had more than 2 times the amount in just raw dollars tournament buy-ins this season than any other season I've ever had. So again, when you concentrate on something, you put more money into it, you put more mind space into it, it's always good to get results. But I think it's dangerous to say, oh, I had one really good team this year. That's most of my tournament results. Now I'm really good at tournaments and I have this huge expectation I should start playing bigger, etc. That's really, really, really dangerous. I'm going to keep doing this solo pod through the playoffs, at least. So if anyone has questions about, my results or your results or how to evaluate them, I'm happy to answer. Just reply to the tweet when I ask for questions, typically on Monday afternoon. I did want to briefly talk about week 18 tournament specifically. It was a crazy week because it was a crazy week because my best tournament team was a Davis Mills double. And Davis Mills had 30. Great. But the double I had with him was Brandon Cooks, who only had 5 points, left early with injury, and Brevin Jordan, who airballed. And somehow I still got 11th in the juke. I just thought that this week was so brutal. The chalk was so unstable. I wanted to get really weird. So I was fine with the Davis Mills double. I mean, to get 11th with a Davis Mills double, Leone, come to my house and give me your GPP bro card, man. I own it now. It's over. Anyway, the winner of the ETR tournament, the 1,500 person $5 buy-in, was Jays Chan. He had the Brady, Gronk, Mike Evans stack, and man, that was sharp. I added a note to my playoff motivation article on Saturday because I started to get the feeling, based on coaches and beat writer stuff, that the Bucs were really going to play this game all out. And with no Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown, and Gronk having that $1.5 million contract incentives, Mike Evans having the 1K yard incentive, man, what a spot to play the Brady, Gronk, Evans double. Jays Chan did not bring it back with anyone on Carolina, which I thought was fine because Tampa throws no matter what in all spots. He also had the James Conner, Tyler Lockett mini, which was so nice. Conner ownership was depressed because of the injury in the late game, but man, with no Chase Edmonds, great spot for James Conner. So great team, Jays Chan. Congrats, man. Congrats on the win. All right. No one cares about all that. I know what you want. I know why you're here. You're here for the listener questions. Before we get to that, reminder that we are on a normal content schedule through the Super Bowl. Won't have last minute live stream or wake and rake. Won't have top plays for these really small slates, the 2 and 3 gamers, but all their content is on schedule. We do have weekly and monthly options available on the subscribe page. Check it out. All right. Enough is enough. Let's get to everyone's favorite portion of the program, the listener questions. Producer Luke, hit the theme music. Question 1 comes from Jeff. He says, "Hey Adam, I'm dying to make my first appearance on the solo pod. My question is, what would your advice be to a 22-year-old college kid that would love to do fantasy sports content full time and making a living off it? Is it possible? And would you suggest I chase these dreams?" Yeah, I know so many people have this question. I get some version of it all the time. Obviously, I'm not a monster. I would never tell someone not to chase their dreams. I think one of the hardest things in life, really, for a lot of people, is to figure out exactly what you want. And after doing that, after figuring out exactly what you want to do with your life, in theory, executing should be the easy part or relatively easy part. You can work towards it. I just caution that the market for 22-year-old bros to do fantasy content now is just so oversaturated. And that doesn't mean you can't do it. I always encourage people to find a niche and be the best at it. Whether that's the game you're talking about, like Cody on Showdown for us, for example, is just killing it. Like he's dedicated his life to Showdown slates on DraftKings. Or maybe your niche is in platform. Maybe you're the best on our Instagram or fucking Snapchat or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just wary of kids who say, oh, I'm really good at fantasy. I'm going to put up some rankings. I'm going to have some player takes and I'm going to win and make money with, some content site. Like that's not really a plan to me. If I was 22, I think it's easy to say, but if I was 22, I think I would really try to learn about blockchain and crypto space, and when I say that, I don't mean like trading fucking random coins or NFTs of stupid fucking penguins or lions or goons or whatever the fuck. I mean, actual application. Like how can this society changing technology change the world and how can I help build it? But, I get it, man. Like most people are not that interested in that stuff and I don't really blame them. Sports is fun. Fantasy is the best. So yeah, the time to take swings is when you're young and you have nothing to lose. So good luck, man. I know I rambled on a little bit there, Jeff, but good luck, man. Question 2 from USFL DFS. He says, on a scale of 1 to 3.9, how much are you looking forward to USFL Part 2? Yeah, so it does look like the USFL is really going to happen. I haven't had a chance to look into it at all really yet, but they do seem to have some legit head coaches signed up, like Kevin Sumlin, Todd Haley, Mike Riley. I did like the XFL. It was definitely fun, but the football bros just like aren't going to like any of this spring league football because the quarterback play is bad. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like the quarterback play is bad. It just straight up is. And you can't have a good football game. You can't have a fun football game really with bad quarterback play. The best quarterback in the XFL was PJ Walker, and he can barely be on the Panthers. He's worse than Sam Darnold, maybe worse than this version of Cam Newton. So the quality of the games is bad. And then, what happened in the XFL was like, not only was the quarterback play bad and the overall play bad because of that, but then starting quarterbacks got hurt and the level of play got even worse. So yeah, it's not great to watch, but I don't give a shit about that. I don't care about watching. It is still very, very, very fun to gamble on, to play DFS, to bet props, to bet games, whatever. Football just sets up well for that kind of stuff. I mean, all football sets up so well. So I don't give a shit about the quality of the games. I mean, I'm only asking, where is the edge? Where can we find the edge? And in these kind of leagues where there's such little reporting, such little data, such little info, well, the edge is bigger. So yeah, I'm excited for the USFL. I'm interested to see the player list. I haven't seen one yet. It might be out there. I don't know, but we'll see. Question 3 from John, works with us on the content summaries team. By the way, if you guys are subscribers, be sure you are aware of the content summaries team. Basically, John and the team over there is taking what we say on the podcast and turning it into like a Cliff Notes version of it so that you can catch up by reading it if you don't have time to listen to the pods. But anyways, John says, with podcasts surging in popularity, I am confused by a common theme, the friend of the show moniker. What makes someone a friend of the show? As listeners, aren't we all friends of the show? If not, how does one become a friend of the show? Yeah, I think I started saying that, I think Stern said it and I just kind of stole it. It's really just another way of saying people who get the show. Dan Levitan probably, almost definitely the best sports radio show by like a zillion miles now. They have that drop that comes in and he just comes out and says it. Like, you don't get the show, So obviously, like, if someone wandered into the Dan Levitan show or this solo pod, some moderately famous person or they come on the podcast, or even if they just listen, they would be pretty confused, right? Like, what in the hell is going on? I thought this was about fantasy football, not sex jokes or whatever. So yeah, friend of the show just means someone we at least know or we've interacted with or we know listens or has been a guest. Yeah, friend of the show. Question 4 from Anonymous. He says, I am in the process of separation/divorce from my wife. Team no sex. Question for the pod. What is your go-to spot/place to pick up women? Have you ever tried online dating? Thanks, Adam. God, man, Sorry to hear it, hang in there. I think though that you're asking the wrong dude. When I met my wife, cell phones were barely even a thing, let alone online dating. I think the strategy, as with most things in life, is just to know what you're good at. If you're good at texting and having a reasonable profile picture, online dating seems like the play. If you're good at talking to randos, just going to a bar seems good. If you're good at dancing, you've been given a gift. It's an easy game. You just go to a club and you start printing EV. I see it all the time, man. People just don't know what they're good at. Rappers want to be athletes. Athletes want to be rappers. Spreadsheet virgins want to be podcasters. Podcasters want to be spreadsheet virgins. I could go on and on. So yeah, anonymous, develop a strategy based on your skills and push the edges there, man. Godspeed. Question 5 from Chris. He says, after having a successful year in DFS, what is the best way to know whether or how much someone should increase their volume by? Is bumping it up 10x for micro stakes crazy? So I've got a few questions like this. I think it's hard to say and there's some nuance, but honestly, I wouldn't worry about stakes too much at the low end. First of all, if you're playing micros, you can definitely go up to the $5 level if your bankroll allows it. Like the sites, I know FanDuel does for sure, block people with certain amounts of winnings from playing $5 and below in smaller field stuff. I do think that no matter what stakes you're playing, though, as you move up, you should be careful about the MME stuff, the mass multi-enter stuff, double ups or tournaments or whatever, the 150 max that's open to anyone. Like that stuff can really get weighted to sharp or sharp-ish action. But let's say you're posting $1 head-to-heads and you want to post $5 head-to-heads or 10s or 20s now, I'd be surprised if you saw a decline in win rate across stakes at those low levels, 20 and below, or maybe even 50 and below. Question 6 from Martin. He says, maybe you've answered this before, but how many hours a day do you work during the season? What's your schedule like? Interested to see under the hood of life inside ETR. Imagining just sleepless insanity. So I think with any startup, it's like that, especially at the beginning. And it should be, right? Like we've never raised money before. We started ETR with our own capital. It's just on us. And, whether we do well or we don't, like it's just on us. And honestly, that's great. But now we are 3 football seasons in. We have a lot of generally like incredibly talented people in the roles that they're best at. Like I'm not in there tweaking our models and algorithms. I obviously would have no clue whatsoever what I'm looking at. All the people that are good at that stuff aren't on here telling sex jokes, right? So one thing I'd say about, workload with football is that it's really a weekly game. And like, there's so much time to get ready for each main slate. And I actually think that that's a reason why it's so popular. People can spend the whole week getting ready, or they can show up on Saturday, or they can show up on Sunday morning to get ready. They don't have to be like on top of everything 24/7. The real people who are insane are all the guys on Dink's team, the NBA team. Imagine the intensity of an NFL main slate with injuries and rotation changes and matchups, but every single day, no time to kind of step back and take a breath. So, what they're doing is just absolutely incredible. One other thing I'd say just about that generally is like, I actually really do enjoy, the whole concept of like sprints and then relax. In other words, like I'd rather work 80 hours a week for 7 months and then be really, really free for 5 months. To me, that's better than 40 hours a week for 12 months. I just think it's better for traveling. It's better for doing interesting activities, whatever. So yeah, I'm not really sure I answered the question there, Martin, but, obviously no one should feel bad for me or for us. It's obviously just really wild to talk about football as a quote unquote job. All right. Question 7, last question we're going to do today comes from Charles. He says, is the PSM, penis size model, is it still a single input model? Can it account for cold weather, changes in humidity, or emotional states? Finally, how does the model value growers who don't initially pop but rise to the occasion? Is this preferred to showers that underperform? Man, this is such a good question. Great question, Charles. I ran into this very issue somewhat recently. So I was in the shower and my wife had just cut my son's hair and she was taking a picture of him. She didn't realize that in the background of this haircut picture is me, stone cold buck naked, obviously. And so she sends this picture to some people, just like ridiculous, right? I mean, so ridiculous. Now, I don't remember what I was doing. I had probably just gotten done playing basketball or something, but man, I was shriveled. And so now all these people who got the picture, got the wrong idea. Of course, they did a classic Seinfeld on this, one of the most famous episodes ever, where George goes around screaming, I was in the pool. I was in the pool. I remember a few years ago, LeBron was like adjusting his shorts on the sideline during a game, and the camera allegedly got a shot of his cock, and like everyone was making fun of him. I mean, get the fuck out of here, man. This dude is 6'9", 250. I'm quite confident in saying he's fine. But that brings me back to Charles's question. Does the PSM account for weather, humidity, emotional states? And this is an easy answer, Charles. Easy answer. This was very important from the beginning once we started Gender Labs LLC. Our team of field scientists only measures our data at full-blown erection. Full-blown. Mere moments before the intercourse takes place. It's the only time that matters. Everything else is completely and utterly irrelevant. But yeah, great question, Charles. Hope that clears everything up. All right. If we're not officially canceled, we'll be back with Silva for team-by-team playoff preview later tonight. And of course, we'll be back with all our DFS content Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, ahead of the slate opening up on Saturday. Thank you all for tuning in. For producer Luke, for Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.